Okay, so far we have tried everything on Kosovo, including talks on partition, and they have not functioned. Many things have been tried in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and they have not functioned. And the only thing that has not been tried is to make these countries functional as they are, and then try to establish some kind of relations. But I think that we are now entering a period in which the next quarter of the century will be testing actually this under very intense pressure, as we said, from a new geopolitical world where we live. And this would probably be the time when I would offer to exchange roles and offer you if you have any questions so that we can continue for this last part of the conversation.
I would like to ask you, what would you, if you were the Prime Minister of Kosovo, what would you do in a situation like we have today with Trump and changing, so to speak, the whole world? The prime power that has actually created Kosovo is now saying goodbye. You are now on your own. Oh. You're now with the Europeans. Yeah, a weak situation. A dramatically changed situation. How would you approach this situation?
Well, I don't think there's one way to it. I think we have to try to consolidate a multilateral approach. The first one is strategically we will still have to have and increase our relationship with the United States. Administrations come and go. But it will be very difficult to see the United States isolate itself into an island simply because of its geography, because of the way the world has functioned. The idea that the United States becomes just one of the other countries in the world does not sound to me to be functional. It can be tried, but it will not function. It will disrupt a lot of the global trade, about the global balances, etc. But ultimately, we will have to come to some sort of equilibrium. And that equilibrium will be represented by the United States as well. Now, that said, what we have now as a challenge as Europeans is to create a shared European security space that starts in Great Britain and that continues up to Ukraine and Turkey. And so the question for the Western Balkan countries is how do they integrate into the European shared security space? What do they bring into this space? And this is important for the Western Balkans because they have to think about the Western Balkans as a shared security space. We have to get into a historic period in which the Kosovo Albanians, or Kosovo does not fear from Serbia, Serbia does not fear from Croatia, people in Bosnia and Herzegovina don't fear that another war will start. We need to get into a part of our history in which we see peace as a shared endeavor. And this is, I think, what we need to be thinking about. The third element into this is how do you do this in a compressed period of time, because we do not have the luxury of the past century in which you could say, oh, well, let's try this, let's try the other, etc. Somehow things will sort themselves out. Things will not sort themselves out. And I think what both Putin and Trump in very different ways and very different modes have been doing is giving a wake-up call to this continent to say, we cannot take things for granted anymore.
Yeah, that's a very general answer, and I must admit that more specific answers are not possible right now. Therefore, I believe self-reliance would be extremely important. How could Kosovo contribute under these dramatically changed circumstances to enhance the security of the region, of course, and thus contribute to the security of Europe? as now, as you said, rightly so,
Yeah.
the United States is withdrawing.
Well, the core of this is establishing a new relationship between Kosovo and Serbia. And the core of this region is also establishing a functioning democratic Bosnia-Herzegovina, which is, I think both of these are somehow the pillars of stability of the Western Balkans. I think there will be a possibility. I don't think the situation in Serbia will be static, as we see it now. It's a dynamic situation. We don't know what will happen and how it will happen, but we have to project a future. And I was talking to Natasha Kandic and about facing the past and about reconciliation. We have to think about a real possibility that in the next 5 years, we will lay flowers on the monument of the Meja massacre, that there will be a Serbian delegation that will come and say, look, let's do this jointly. This is not done in our name. And so even if it doesn't happen in 5 years, we have to start discussing about this possibility, because we cannot dismiss the possibilities. We cannot say this will not happen in our lifetime. No, it should happen in our lifetime. And if we start discussing about it, well, it will happen. It might happen in our lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, historical parallels are very important. And I think of France and Germany, of de Gaulle and Adenauer. Yeah. A reconciliation, actually, of course, it sounds good if you say people must meet. But if there is nothing coming from above, it also doesn't work. People usually are ready to move and to march much farther already than politics does. And I think the idea between in the reconciliation between Germany and France was really that the top brass, the top people took this decision. We shake hands.
Yeah, they did. Well, they did.